I'm Dan Kalusha, and welcome to another edition of Shootin' Plink. In a way, this is a continuation of our testing for the ATI drum magazine, the 110 round drum magazine that we used on this Ruger 1022. Why I say it's a continuation is because what we're going to be talking about and doing is related to it. After firing those 110 rounds, the barrel was extremely hot. And I don't know if it was because of that or the recoil, the constant recoil, especially on rapid fire, what happened, but right up here, you notice that there's the fiber optic insert. It fell out somewhere around here. Down there, you know, that's like finding a needle in a haystack. And in fact worse, because at least the needle you can use a magnet. You can't on this. So I had to take the sight and remove it, the old one. Ruger sent in a whole new sight. I've always used my Henry brass outfit that I have with a brass hammer, brass punch, and no problem taking them out on my Henrys or whatever. Oh boy, this is a different ball game, I'll tell you. And I've seen a lot of people talking about this. You gotta put in a vise, guys. Don't try anything else. Make sure it's really nailed down tight. I've got a special type of a vise that my dad had. It's an old one. I don't even know if you can get them anymore. It's a quick fasten type thing, and then you can crank it down a little bit more, but it also comes with special type of pads that go in it that will hold something like this so you don't damage it. Well, what I've done, and I'm going to show you a photo here, you'll see the old sight as to how it really got beat up, and what I ended up doing is taking a much heavier hammer and a steel punch to get it out. It was wrecked anyway, and in fact the doggone brass punch, which I really burred up the ends of that, it kept slipping off and hitting up here, and it actually broke. And you've seen that probably in the photo, that center post there on that thing, it broke that right off. And you can see some of the damage that's been done here. I'm going to try to get some of that bluing stuff that they put on them to darken that up again. I know it's a cosmetic thing, but I like to have my guns look good. In fact, I even beat this up a little bit with that pad. You can see right here, there's a brass thing that's on those pads you put on that vise, and it still burred it up a little bit. Didn't burn it, just, I don't know what it did. Anyway, I'm going to try to get some of that stuff and put it on there. But what we're going to do today is we're going to shoot this. And I'm not shooting it with a 110 round magazine. In fact, we're going to be talking about that in just a little bit, about another 110 round magazine shoot we're going to do. Instead, I'm going to use the regular OEM box magazine. I've loaded it up with CCI quiet ammo. I know you're going to say, what? Well, if you watched the video on that, it did work in here before, and it's a good one for sighting in, because it packs enough of a punch. And what I've here down up here, and you can see, I put a 6-inch AR-500 target. Instead of, normally I'd use paper to sight it in. I'm not really that much worried. What I'm going to do is, I've got it painted. It hasn't been any shooting yet on it. And I flipped it around so I got that painted side, and we're going to be able to see where it hits. And I'm going to take a look at it and go back here, we'll load it up, and then we're going to fire about 10 rounds at that, and we're going to see what happens. Okay, we're back here at 25 yards, and I'm going to shoot this freestanding as we normally do. Take the safety off, and we'll see how it goes. I'll tell you, it's really windy out here, isn't it? Well, I hit it. Fire another one in there, and we'll take a look at the 3 rounds. That one must have hit more in the middle. I said the other side must have hit off the side. I'll take a look, and I'll be right back. Alright, they were kind of round. That last one I guess did hit more in the middle, but not quite as high. I may have to adjust this side up just a bit. We'll see. But that would be the back sight, and it was the front sight where I had the problem. That's what I was worried about, is that it might be shooting off there. So we'll take 3 more shots. Alright, I'll go take a look at that. Well, looking at it, I would say that it's me wavering around a little bit. And of course that thing's wavering around also after I hit it, especially when I hit it off to the side. But it's hit it so far. That's a 6-inch, by the way. I'm going to go back here. We got 4 more rounds left, and I'm going to put them in there, and hopefully those will be good enough. Missed twice. Can't believe that. I don't know what the deal is. Maybe my eyes, I don't know. Why don't we load this thing up again and do some more shooting? Alright, what I've decided to do, this ought to be making it more interesting. I'm going to fire at a 3-inch AR-500 and use the Browning, which has got 1255 velocity. This is a regular ammo instead of the quiet, and just see if I can hit it with that. I don't know. I'm wondering. So we'll find out. Let's see how this thing's sighted in. Oh, I gotta set that thing back up there, don't I? Hang on. Okay, here we go again. I guess that was it. Well, I had a few misses on it, but must be sighted in good enough to hit a 3-inch, might as well say bullseye, because that's about what that is at this distance. So let's go take a look at a couple of targets. Looking at the targets, now beforehand, the old one, this is the target this side that I fired at, and as you can see, a lot of them are in the middle, and those were over on our longer range. Now today, after changing out the sight, and I don't really know what's happened, because I think it's the rear sight I'm actually going to have to adjust. It seems like maybe a little bit of windage problem, but more of a elevation problem, and I'll show you why. Right here, here's on the 6-inch today. Like I said, this was the other day. This is today with that new sight. Now maybe all of the pounding that I did on that has knocked that rear sight off, because it looks to me like it's shooting high all the time. And I did have a few, but that could be waving around, so I'm not worried about that as much, because here this shows that as far as the windage goes, it's pretty much on. It's just that elevation is off. Because take a look at where I was hitting. And that's probably why I shot it off of that hook. But this is a 3-inch, and you can see the difference. So I was getting them within that, but I did miss this one a couple of times, and 10 chances to 1 I missed it high. Maybe you seen, I didn't. But I know enough that that's what I'm going to have to do before we fire that again. Now I'm going to tell you what I'm planning on doing with that 110 round magazine. I'm going to give it kind of a weird test. I'm going to take if you remember, we had one hiccup. Out of the 110 rounds, there was only one. It was kind of a strange jam. It just laid 2 rounds kind of over one another, put it back in, fired, no problem. Talked to the promotional gal at ATI, and she feels that maybe it was the ammo, because that was the only one that did it. So what we're going to do is we're going to load up rounds of that same Federal ammunition and alternate it with the CCI Quiet. Now this is going to give it really a different range and velocity, because we're going to be looking at 1200 and then 800 and some feet per second. The only difference is it's also going to be a different grain bullet. It's going to go from a 40 to a 60, and it's going to really be different. I think it's 60 on that one. Anyway, it's a heavier bullet, I know, that's in the Quiet. And what I'm hoping to do is to load this one round back and forth, so we'll alternate. That's going to give it a real weird test, because it's going to be entirely different ammunition, different grain bullet, everything else, and it will be cycling that back and forth. And I'll probably put about 50 rounds of each one, and then the final 10 rounds maybe of something else. I don't know, but anyway, that's what I'm planning on doing. So it's going to take me a time to load that magazine. Like I said, we're going to do that in another video, and that may be about the last video we do with that 110 rounds to see what happens. Anyway, I did want to tell you about this sight and what you have to do with it. It is a bear to change out, and I'm hoping that I can drop that elevation just a little bit before we shoot that 110. As you can see, I got somewhat of a used target there, and I'm going to try to hit the center of this. I've got it adjusted just a little bit more. I'm using CCI standard ammo. Let's see what happens. That must have been it. Looks to me like we've got a pretty good grouping in the center. So I'd say that I've got it adjusted just about where I want it. Next time we're going to be shooting that 110 rounder. So until next time, shoot safe and have a great day of plinking.